your daily Philadelphia Eagles podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the post-game show. It's Locked On Eagles, your daily Philadelphia Eagles podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We thank you for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day. It's a late-night Tuesday edition of the show, as Gino and I are going to recap a Tuesday night win for the Eagles. They avenge the Joe Webb game of 2010. They get to 7-7, the first time they're at 500 on the year since week 2. 7-7, a 27-17 win over the Washington football team, now tied for a playoff spot in the NFC as they work towards that potential postseason berth. We're going to get into everything that happened in that game, Gino, and it was a game that started off, 13-year-old me was in my head screaming, this is 2010 all over again, with how disastrous that start was. Washington takes an early 10-0 lead after an interception that went off Dallas Goedert's ankle after a bad drop. Then Jalen Hurts gets strip sacked in the red zone. Penalty stall the next drive. It just felt like everything that could go wrong would. And that was the only way they were going to lose this game, is if they kept shooting themselves in the foot. But they turned it around, and those final three quarters, beautiful, especially up front with that offensive line.
And that's what the NFL comes down to, man. Like, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Games aren't won in the first quarter. They're won in the fourth quarter, and the fourth quarter of seasons, the fourth quarter of Super Bowls, like we saw back in 2017. And then, I mean, in the fourth quarter tonight, when the Eagles were within 3 points after Garrett Gilbert, man, like out of all the people in the world, takes them down the field.
You know, I don't even know this guy barely, because I almost said Garrett Grayson by accident before.
Oh, yeah, no. Garrett Gilbert, AAF legend of the Orlando Apollos. He was very good in the AAF. Looked good tonight at times. The Eagles gave us a scare early on. But when you contextualize what happened, Lou, they got 10 points off of turnovers. And then when you had to play straight up football, you outscored them 27-7.
Not only that, but you had 519 yards to their 237.
When I saw the final number on the amount of yards that they had tonight, that it was north of 500, I audibly gasped. That is delightful to me. That's one thing that, as ugly as that beginning of this game was, you could sit back and say, okay, we have something to work with here. And if we could get 3 quarters of consistency, hey, let's turn it into 4 quarters of the next game. Yeah. Because the way they started off, I thought was a continuation of that Giants game. Jalen Hurts had 5 turnovers in 5 quarters. They were held scoreless for 4 out of the 5 quarters that Jalen Hurts was in there. And then he turns it around after Nick Sirianni chewed him out on the sideline and the camera saw it. Whatever Nick Sirianni said to Jalen Hurts clicked inside that guy.
The whole team woke up, Gino. I mean, they felt like they were groggy coming out of the gate on both sides of the football. But then after that, you did see them, turn it around and show what their upside is, especially on the offensive side of the football. Because again, the blueprint was, we're going to run the football and we're going to run behind this offensive line, which, by the way, just a clinic they put on today. I mean, seeing Jason Kelce basically outrun Miles Sanders down the field. Yeah.
Like third
you got
fourth string.
Fifth and sixth string guards at this point.
Yeah.
You're down to your fifth and sixth. Nate Herbig and Sua Opeta, and both held their own. Over 200 rushing yards again today. That's the 5th time this year the Eagles have done it. Miles Sanders, 131 yards. He's the first running back for the Eagles since LaShawn McCoy in 2014 to have 100 rushing yards or more in back-to-back games. Like, that was, again, what was your bread and butter on offense, right? Jalen Hurts, 2 rushing touchdowns. But you saw the passing today. It was brutal to start. But, Gino, overall, second quarter through to the fourth, I thought Jalen Hurts, passing-wise, this was one of his best performances on a big stage, and he took a lot of strides in areas that we thought were weaknesses.
And the front was getting after him. I mean, they were making a move early on, with a depleted front. That oh my God, that Deron Payne sack was unbelievable, dude. With one arm draped around him, he's able to sack Jalen Hurts, who has some of the best legs in the league and the best legs in Eagles history with 10 rushing touchdowns now. And he just surpassed Michael Vick. And to do what he did on the ground was exceptional. But then to do what he did in the air today, Lou, I think was the step that we needed to see. And how he recovered after those first two drives,
because it was bad, man.
It was terrible.
You saw there were some brutal plays, like the underthrow to. I mean, Goddard caught it, but that should have probably been an interception. The strip sack he had, your boy Kenny Gainwell wide open across the middle. There was multiple times where you saw the lack of arm strength, the lack of accuracy, the lack of vision, kind of confirming a lot of things to us again. But as you said, he turned it around, and a lot of young players like that could falter and just get worse and let it pile up.
And I thought that's what it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a repeat of that Giants game. But that's a big step in his game, Lou. And I said, and I think you agreed with it, sitting back and watching Gardner play in that game and just seeing what keeping your eyes down the field can do for you. Because look at you. He almost had a 300-yard game today, gave his receivers chances, was waiting for routes to develop. And once he just settled in and played smart football, which we know he's an exceptionally smart player, he's going to beat you in that manner, whether it's with his arms or his legs. And he did it in ways today, especially on that Greg Ward throw, Luke.
Oh, best throw of the season on the back shoulder.
Maybe the best throw I've ever seen from Jalen Hurts in a Philadelphia Eagles uniform.
Yeah.
I could firmly say that. Was. When you talk about throwing a receiver open in a big-time moment, needing to recover after you're only up 3 points because Gilbert just let his team down, how are you going to react from that? I mean, we have been big critics of Jalen Hurts, but Lou, why we were critics of him was because we saw the strides he took in each of these games, and we saw
the same inconsistencies, and you didn't see the progress. But today,
you saw man. You definitely saw progress in many areas for him.
296 passing yards. He was 20 of 26, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. But again, this is why I want an interception stat to be separated, just because like that went right off Goddard's ankles after a drop. So that wasn't even really on Jalen. The strip sack 100% was, but you're right. I mean, the reason we're on Jalen so much is because the same issues continue to arise week after week after week. You see a small step, but then he backtracks, right? It is, 1 step forward, 2 steps back. But today it felt like 3 or 4 steps forward, just with the way in the pocket he was just feeling when to move, when to stay patient, keeping his eyes downfield. Even when Geno, he was rolling to his left or his right. I don't know if it was because he watched Minshew. I don't know if it was because of the ankle injury, but he was running to open up the pass, keeping his eyes downfield. And you saw that instance, the Devontae Smith play along the sidelines. Hurts was right on the line of scrimmage, found Smith. The other play too, Jalen Reagor, that other big reception on 3rd down. Hurts steps up, up the levels of the pocket. He could have ran again, but he puts a beautiful rainbow over the linebacker. And then, like you said, the Greg Ward pass, there was a many times this year that week 2 or 3 Jalen Hurts would have ran, and today he threw it with timing, accuracy, and patience, and that's what you want to see. But of course, now the issue is you want to see him keep doing it. Now you do it back-to-back drives. Now let's see back-to-back quarters. Let's see back-to-back games. If he does that in a playoff run, that's going to do very well for him keeping the job next year.
And that's the first step in the right direction. We're talking about winning at least 3 of these games. You're 33% of the way there. And a lot of it comes down to what Jalen Hurts was doing, because early on, he put them in a position once again that he could have lost the game for them if he continued that snowball effect downhill. But he turned it around, Lou, and he was doing things that I think you could pick out little elements of each game that we kind of like applauded him on. For example, that 50-50 ball to Dallas Goedert. When we were looking at the Denver game, for example, when we were talking about that throw to Devontae Smith, the same sort of element. Trust your guys. When you're allowing those concepts to come open, going back to the Denver game again, when you had that deep cross from Devontae Smith, the same thing again today with Jalen Reagor, not in the deeper area, but in that intermediate area in a big spot. He just let things play out. He let the defense just kind of work their way out of the play. And then Jalen Reagor found that spot. You put the little bit of touch on it. We could go through each of his throws because they were spectacular. After that one to the corner of the end zone where he was doubled. Devontae Smith was doubled over there, and you could have hit Dallas Goedert was on a linebacker on the other side of the field. Kenny Gainwell came open on a slant. I was saying to myself, what is he seeing right now? Is he not seeing the field? And then he instantly clicked. Like, things just turned around in the blink of an eye. And most of his incompletions today, Lou, were drops. I mean, he could have went for 350 to 400 yards.
Right. I mean, the two Goddard drops, Gino, the amount of space and blockers Dallas had in front of them, I mean, those both could have went for 20-plus yards. You add another 40 or 50 yards through the air, and he surpasses 300 yards today.
And it's the best game we've ever seen out of Jalen Hurts in the air in that regard. And
I agree.
How far away are we, Lou, from those things going right to see him hit his first 400-yard game? I don't think we're too far off, especially with the way all these parts came to be today. It wasn't just Dallas Goedert. It wasn't just Devontae Smith. It was a whole cornucopia of these guys. Jalen Reagor had a ton of explosive plays.
3 for 57 today. Was horrible in the return game again, but he made explosive plays. We'll get into special teams for sure. Guys, this is the post-game show. The Eagles take it 27-17 against Washington. They're 7-7 now on the year, continuing their playoff hopes, keeping them alive. And guys, today's show is sponsored by Boost Mobile. You listen to podcasts for the power of knowledge. You switch to Boost Mobile for the power of saving money, because with Boost, you get the power of a free 5G phone so you can listen to all the latest episodes, the power of 3 unlimited data lines for $30 a month per line, so your family can harness all that brain power as well, and the power of one of America's largest 5G networks so you can do it all at the speed of 5G. With all that money you'll save and all that knowledge you'll gain, just how powerful will you become? Switch to Boost Mobile and find out today. Get a free Samsung Galaxy A32 5G when you switch to one of America's largest 5G networks. More power to save. Boost Mobile. Disclaimer, free phone limited to new customers and 1 per line. Additional restrictions apply. Offers and coverage not available everywhere or for all phones and networks. See boostmobile.com for details. Guys, today's show is also sponsored by On Location. Super Bowl 56 at SoFi in LA is less than 100 days away. And On Location, the official hospitality partner of the NFL, is the only place to score a once-in-a-lifetime Super Bowl ticket and experience package. Select your exact seats and choose from elite experiences featuring an exclusive pregame celebration with NFL legends, 5-star LA hotels, and food by the great Wolfgang Puck. Visit onlocationexp.com/SB56 for more information, or search Super Bowl On Location. That's onlocationexp.com/SB56, or search Super Bowl On Location. This is the post-game show, Locked On Eagles. I'm Louis DiBiase. He's Gino Camilleri, and we thank you for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day. A roller coaster of a game, but the Eagles take it on Tuesday night, 27-17, defeating the Washington football team. Big win, as Washington currently was in the 7th seed in the NFC. Minnesota now has that spot, but it's only by a tiebreaker, with the Eagles now at 7-7. So they're pushing forward as they try to make the playoffs, Gino. And we talked segment 1 mostly about Jalen Hurts. It was maybe his most impressive performance of the season. If not, it was definitely, I would say, top 3, passing wise, with the Kansas City game. Just overall, the games against the Saints and Broncos were super impressive. This game was definitely up there, just from a collection of his running ability, his passing progression. But it wasn't just him. I mean, you look overall, we mentioned the offensive line, but how about the play calling job from Nick Sirianni? I mean, the amount of pre-snap motion, at the same time, RPOs, Devontae Smith in the backfield, Darius Slay on the field. I mean, it felt like Sirianni was in a rhythm after that first quarter.
That's what I've been waiting for. I've been saying to you, Lou,
since 2018,
give me a guy that makes the offense fun. Give me a guy that makes you look in the backfield and say, what the?
I saw number 2, and I'm like,
number 2? Yeah,
Jalen switched his jersey. I'm like, who is that?
If you look at it, you're like, what is going on back there? And that's what the Washington defense was seeing. They're saying, Darius Slay's back here. We got to pay attention. This is interesting. Devontae Smith is in the backfield for multiple different snaps in multiple different areas. Kenny Gainwell's basically a full-time receiver at this point.
Yeah,
the motions, the different gap schemes where they had guys pulling, where they're filling all those gaps within the run game. It just makes it so difficult when you have Nick Sirianni and Jeff Stoutland, who, as the run game coordinator, who he is one of the best guys when it comes to blocking up the run game, plus Nick Sirianni's creativity in the RPO game to create this, I don't even know what you would call it, this mesh of triple option with some West Coast
guys
schemes,
roaming around. Like it was
it is
awesome.
such an invigorative offense that
Yeah.
you don't know what you're going to get snap in and snap out. And seeing guys like Jack Stoll being involved in the game plan, you know that Nick Sirianni is going deep in his Rolodex of plays and making it hard for defenses to just go out there and even line up and play against this team. Because now with the weapons they have, Lou, even scheming these guys open, that's going to put you over the top, because these guys don't have to just win one-on-one straight up. They could go out there and be open in the middle of the field like a Jalen Reagor or a Dallas Goedert multiple times, or Kenny Gainwell, who on that wheel route, I know he went off screen and they didn't have the all 22 view of him, but on the wheel route,
they had him.
He put his hand up and he was wide open. This offense, man,
that was the Quez Watkins first down, right?
Yes, yeah.
Where I thought he was open, but he did.
To the right
angle
side.
Was tough.
Yeah, it was a tough angle, but I think he had him. But I keep looking at it and I'm saying, now that you have these pieces, and it's been over a few weeks, because we were talking about probably a month or so ago, Dallas Goedert and Devontae Smith, is that enough? Now these guys have slowly been getting weaned in, and hats off to Nick Sirianni, Lou. You talk about his creativity. Talk about his stubbornness in a good way. People are calling for Jalen Reagor's head, and he's saying, no. I'm going to keep this guy out there. I'm going to use him in ways that I believe he is going to be effective. And if you could get a 3 for 57 game out of Jalen Reagor from now until Kingdom Come, or now until he's off the roster.
I'll take that as my third guy.
I will. Yes, you will take that with the current state of where he is as a player.
I agree. And I thought Sirianni really utilized his personnel extremely well today. He was creative. Like you said, he was stubborn in a positive way, and just a very encouraging sign. And you could see, too, just the way he got that team re-energized after the first quarter, especially getting in Jalen Hurts' ear. I mean, that was necessary, because Jalen especially just felt like they were sleepwalking through that first game, or that first quarter.
Least, my friend.
You know, I get it. They haven't played a game. They're coming off a bye week. Then their game on Sunday gets postponed. It's pretty understandable. And especially, too, with Washington and their situation, you probably thought you could win this game at 75%. But I think Sirianni lit a fire under them after that. And I think you could see a noticeable difference after. Gino, how about defense, too, before we take another break? I thought they were inconsistent, but I thought they, too, woke up, especially the pass rush came up big in the end. Fletcher Cox really continuing to dominate as he has the last 2 months. He had a sack and a half today, including the game-sealing sack on fourth down. It was interesting because Washington was picking up the blitz really well, and they were trying to get back into the football game. So they kind of called up the dogs, and the four-man pass rush got there. I think Hargrave and Cox especially were extremely impactful tonight and continue to be.
And that's the thing with sacks, Lou. Sacks come from continued pressure. And they were pressuring. I mean, they're not getting the quarterback hits. They're not registering those sacks, but they are affecting the pocket. And early on, those 10 points, it comes down to the turnovers. It comes down to the field position that they were put in because of their offense, much like they were in that Giants game a couple weeks ago. But then once they were playing straight up, 11-on-11 football with normal field position, they were locked down, man. I mean, outside of that big reception to Terry McLaurin, who is always going to win a one-on-one in any game. He's an unbelievable player. We've seen that over the years. Washington has good players. If they had a quarterback tonight, I think this is a closer game. If Heineke or Kyle Allen is playing, this is probably a 3-point game. They had playmakers on defense. This wasn't a team that looked like they were quote unquote full of practice squad players. Like, they still look serviceable tonight. On the back end, Landon Collins, Jeremy Reeves, they looked good as well. But you look at the Eagles and what their defense did, Lou. They were getting contributions from everybody once again. Alex Singleton came up big in one of the biggest moments, breaking through the one gap, laying a massive hit, and really setting the tone to finish off that game. But prior to that, the pass breakup from TJ Edwards, the rushing from Fletcher Cox, and the guys on the edge to just
How about
continue.
Teron Jackson, Gino? I thought this was his best game by far this year. That's your boy.
I didn't
He
want to
looked
be the
great.
one to bring him up. I was getting to the edge position. And
I had to
you
make
brought
sure
him
we
up.
got your guy in there. Stock up, stock down. I'm sure he'll be in it as well, but we had to mention him tonight because he had a great game.
I know you hate the first thing that you say about edge rushers is their motor.
Yeah.
Teron Jackson simply wins off of his athleticism and his motor. He might not be the most refined pass rusher early on in his career, but he is an athlete and he is consistently moving his legs. And everybody, Fletcher Cox, talk about lighting a fire. That guy was after his defense today. When they were just getting run all over in that first part of the game where Antonio Gibson looked like he was going to go for 100 plus, which they held Antonio Gibson to less than 50 yards tonight, less than 70 yards combined for the whole Washington
total. Gibson only had 26 rushing yards. They were 21 of 63, only averaging 3 yards a pop.
Stock
2
up,
touchdowns,
stock down.
but again,
Run defense the last month and a half, Lou,
Right.
has been exceptional. And they had to come into this game and win via the run game, that being Washington. And the Eagles completely took that element away from them. Did hurt me a little bit that Antonio Gibson and Jarrett Patterson scored a touchdown against Philadelphia on the same night. But man, when it came down to that last drive, it just seemed like the Eagles have played that last drive so many different times against so many quarterbacks. Like you go back to the Jets game last year. Who was it? I can't think of the quarterback. Luke Falk, where they just mauled him on that last drive. 2019, yes, exactly. I'm thinking all these Jets games are getting mixed up. Too many games against them. But they are not going to be in a position past halftime against a quarterback that is far less superior than them, that they kind of make you question, okay, can we lose this game? They get going after that first quarter, much like the offense does too. They're slow to get rolling, but once they do, they're going to continue to pressure you. The back end is just going to continue to eat you alive in terms of pass coverage. And look at guys like Avonte Maddox, how they're coming downhill and hitting. Darius Slay, how they're coming downhill and just laying the boom. And Rodney McLeod still has some pop to his game. And they're not even fully healthy on that side of the ball. Like, they don't even have Damian Taylor, who might be their best intermediate player right now. If they could get healthier down the stretch in these last couple games, I really want to see what the ceiling is for this team.
I do too.
Like,
I'd love to see this team playing into January. It'd be exciting.
I do
because
too,
when
man.
you have the offensive, again, I just got to keep going back to that offensive line because they are just doing whatever they want. And when you have that unit playing like that, Gino, you have a chance against anybody. You're always going to be competitive. There's a reason this team is 7-7 this year. There's a reason preseason, me and you didn't project this team to go 4 wins or 5 wins. We said they're going to be right around that 7-10 mark because when you have this line, if they're healthy, of course, which was a big if after 2020, you're going to have as good a chance as any. And they did that again tonight, and they're going to continue to have a chance at this playoffs. And we'll take a look at that coming up next, guys. This is Locked On Eagles, the post-game show. The Birds take it 27-17 over Washington. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
And 27 points was a little bit more than what the Eagles team total was tonight at 24.5. And if you bet with me at betonline.ag, I bet the farthest odds of any bet this year on LOE3, and I hit.
Yeah, how do we do on LOE3 today?
We did fantastic, my friend. But I especially did well at plus 800, Jalen Hurts to have at least 2 touchdowns and the Eagles to win. And boom, the Camilleri guarantee, cash that one. I did it over at Bet Online. They continue and will always remain the #1 platform because you can do these player props, which Lou and I are as hot as the Philadelphia Eagles are right now on these player props at betonline.ag. Football, basketball, boxing, whatever sport you're watching. You could watch Tuesday night football. You could bet any of the bowl games. You could bet any soccer that's coming up on Boxing Day. Got a bunch of good Christmas games. Got hockey coming back in a few days. Whatever you want to bet, go to betonline.ag. It's the easiest and fastest way to bet. You could go and play their favorite Vegas casino games as well. Don't wait. Take advantage. Go to BetOnline where the game starts.
This is the Locked On Eagles post-game show. The Eagles take it 27-17 over the Washington football team. They're now 7-7 on the year. This is episode 2 this week of 5. Download it into your phone wherever you get the podcast, guys. We're available on YouTube as well. And tomorrow we'll do stock up, stock down. We've got Locked On QB1 on Friday. Crossover Thursday too, Gino. This team, it's a big win, but they got to turn this thing around really quickly because they have the New York Giants coming up, and every win counts right now. They could go 3-1, including this win down the stretch, and still have a good shot of making it. But you got to make sure, especially against the Giants, you can't afford to slip up. You're going to be sore, but you got to take this win because, the tougher matchups are coming up. It's Washington again on the road. They're going to be healthier. And then it's Dallas, who could be fighting for the 1 seed. So these first 2 games of this 4-game finish, it's good that you got the win here because these are the easier 2 that you got to have. And then you got to get at least one of those games between Washington and Dallas. So it was good to see them get a win today, but they got to turn things around quick.
And this was a good step in the right direction. And I like that this team took this one personal. They seemed like they had a fire lit under them after that first quarter when things weren't going well. They're just saying, what are we doing here? Like, after a while, I was saying that too. Like, what is this team doing right now? They are better than this. As bad as they may have looked at points in this season, they are a better football team than what they put on display in those first 3 drives. And after that, Lou, I think we saw the basics of what the Philadelphia Eagles are. They're a team that's going to grind you down in terms of the offensive line. They're going to run the football with a vast majority of different guys with different skill sets, whether it's Jordan Howard, Miles Sanders, Kenny Gainwell, the list goes on. And they're going to hit you in the mouth with some deep shots from time to time with Devontae Smith, with Dallas Goedert. And whether you like it or not, you have to stop those guys one-on-one. And you look at beating your division and drafting to beat your division, Lou. I think they checked a lot of those boxes tonight. I know Devontae Smith isn't going anywhere in terms of beating these guys one-on-one. I know Dallas Goedert isn't going anywhere. And I know Miles Sanders looks as fresh as ever, man. This offense looks super exciting, and the defense is doing exactly what they need to do to keep this team in contention. Stop the run. Don't do anything that's going to allow the top to come off, and I don't think they did outside of that McLaurin play, which they had covered up, and they were able to hold them there. But when it comes down to it, holding a team under 20 points week in and week out will be how you win football games. And they have to continue to do that.
Yeah, when they're scoring 25 plus consistently and holding teams under 20, that's a pretty good recipe, Gino. And that continued today. 27 points, and you should have had more for sure. And you hold Washington to under 20, and they probably should have had less points. So this, to me, I mean, again, the score says it was only a 10-point affair, but it felt a lot more lopsided. And you see the production too, yardage wise. I mean, you had over more than 300 yards more than this team had against
That's
you.
Crazy.
They were moving the ball. That's why it was so frustrating early on. It wasn't Washington was making great plays. The Eagles were just shooting themselves in the foot because you were moving the ball. Even in the first quarter, it wasn't like they couldn't get things going. They had things going, and then they messed up with penalties or turnovers. You know what I mean? So like that's why it was good to see, at least execution wise, they continue to be efficient on both sides of the football. And I don't know what it is with this team, but, for the last, 4 of the last 5 years, they saved their best football for last. They've won 5 of their last 7. And it's good to see that a new era is kind of continuing that way, because as much as people, when they think about 2018 and 2019 especially, it drives them up a wall with how stressful those years were. But those teams, they were battle tested and they saved their best football for late December in January. And it's cool to see this year with a different looking team. That theme has continued so far.
And I think it's continued. A big hand has to go to the veterans, the guys like Rodney McLeod,
right? The guys
like
that
Fletcher
worked
Cox.
through those runs, yeah.
Yep, exactly. But then also this invigoration of these new ideas with Nick Sirianni and this new fast-paced offense that they continue to put out week after week, and not knowing what the defense is going to see with each different personnel unit. Even when you're in 13 or 12 or you go with that 21 personnel, you don't know what you are going to get against them. And that's a big way that you put your team in a position to succeed. And they are continuing to do that week after week. And outside of that hiccup with the Giants game, Lou, their last, 5 games have been their best football.
Even the other loss against the Chargers. I mean, you could have won that game too. Yeah.
They could have, and we keep talking, and we've said it. They should have had more. They should have had more. How many times can we go back through this season saying they should have had a bigger offensive output? They should have had more points. And when they get to that point where we're like, okay, they hit where they could be, I think we're looking at a team that could put up 40 points, put up 400 yards on offense, hold a team to less than 100 yards rushing, and hold a team to under 20 points. They still have a long way to go, Lou. Not everything was roses and gumdrops and Christmas trees at this time of year. They still had some hiccups, but when they had to contextually step up in situational football, they did an excellent job against the Washington football team tonight.
I agree. The Eagles take it 27-17. They're 7-7 on the year. Gino and I, we will be back tomorrow for Stock Up, Stock Down, continuing to take a look at this matchup. But then we got to quickly turn the page as the Giants come to town on Sunday. Gino will do crossover Thursday with Patricia Traina, and then we'll do Locked On QB1 Friday, guys. 3 more pods for you this week. We've already done 3 this week. So subscribe to the podcast wherever you get the show. We're available on YouTube as well and on Twitter at Locked On Birds, at GC24_football, and at DBLCLOE. That's going to do it again. The Eagles take it 27-17. Enjoy the win tonight. We'll see you tomorrow. For Gino Camilleri, I'm Lou DiBiase. As always, thank you for downloading. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And let's go Birds.
Fly, Eagles, fly.